Alright, so this is my consistency turbo concept. Some people who've seen the little screenshot of this deck, there might be some confusions. The main thing is that other cards here are placeholders. You're supposed to put in your own cards and your own strategy into this. So let's take out some of the placeholder cards, so you can kind of see what the core of the deck is supposed to be. Of course, I'm using Duel Mats, so that's a floodgate for me. Red screen, definitely recommend, but again, it's more my style than most other people's.
And even twin twist is definitely very useful, so it's a good idea to just keep it in there in general. So I'll just leave it there for now. But you can, switch it out, swap it out with other stuff. Gold sarcophagus, you can obviously switch out with anything else. There's a version of this where I use Pot of Desires instead of Gold Sarcophagus. There's a build Pot of Duality. It depends on what you build. Yeah, if you build a gadget deck with this, right? You get 3 yellows, 3 reds, 3 greens, right? So there you go, you got that. And then you put in, whatever you want. Floodgate wise, you got access to anti-spell fragrance. If you want to go with the Cree, light imprisonment, shadow imprisoning, Benny's emptiness, skill drain, parent iron wall, rivalry of the warlords, whatever you want. You could potentially put in more spell cards. For example, Necro Valley acts like Parent Iron Wall, but for the graveyard. It also is useful for preventing somebody from soul charging from the graveyard, called haunting from the graveyard. Just using a monster effect to grab from the graveyard, like a Crane, Junk Synchron, so forth and so forth. You get the idea. And it's a spell, so there might be a point where you need a spell to do essentially what Empire Iron Wall would do. Especially if you're playing like Malefics or something. Obviously you want Necro Valley, because it'll give you an Empire Iron Wall effect, plus it'll let you summon the Malefics, right? Then you got Zombie World, which will act like a Master Restrict. I don't have a Master Restrict here in the little sideboard area, but you get the idea. You could just, you can have a Master Restrict. Anything you want. There's a floodgate, Prohibition, whatever you want. It's up to you what you want, what you need, because some decks need certain cards. Like if you're playing Shaddolls, you might want to, obviously play Shaddol Fusion. So obviously you gotta make space for it, right? So that's why you take out some of the cards to make space for it. In this particular build, like I said, I could just put in Shadow Prison, Flame Prison, let's throw in a Vanity's Emptiness, right? And there you go. You have a deck. You could obviously take out like a green gadget, a red gadget, and a yellow gadget, right, to make space for more cards, and then throw in anti-spell fragrance, skill drain, maybe even rivalry of warlords, right? That way you have 16 spells, 12 traps. Nice little balance, right? Nice little number balance there that you can use. And again, you can put whatever you want. You can put in warning, some other counter trap card or a spell card that you might need for a deck, more monsters. Just tweak around with the concept as much as you want. But the main idea is that you want is the Magical Malice, the Reckless Greeds. I use Gold Sarcophagus because it's a search card. But let's say you could play 3 copies of Reinforcement Army. You're playing like a hero deck or a warrior based deck or some type of warrior based strategy. Then you can just play that if you want. I mainly use Gold Sarcophagus because it lets me get whatever I want. It helps me search out certain things. Especially if I'm using like one Vanity's Emptiness,
you know, 1 anti-spell fragrance, you know, 1 light imprison, 1 shadow imprison. If I'm using 1 copy of certain cards, obviously I will want some way of getting to them, and that's if I'm not side decking, because of course side decking is an option for most players in the competitive scene. Put them back over there. Well, of course you can tweak the deck as much as you want, but as you can see right here, let me save that real quick. You can see that's a pretty basic build. Got the twin twisters again. You can switch them with anything else you want. You know, anything else you might need. Maybe you want to play Cyclone, Cosmic Cyclone. That's what it's called, Cosmic Cyclone instead, or maybe 1 Cosmic Cyclone, 1 spell Shattering Arrow, and 1 twin twister, whatever. Like however way you wanna modify the deck, but you can obviously keep most of its core consistency, which will be the reloads, the magical mallets, and for deck thinning purposes, Thunder Dragon plus discard fodder, Thunder Seahorse, for deck thinning and discard fodder. Plus, it's level 4. You can summon it and go and use it for rank 4 plays, or a nice little 1600 beat stick, right? Or at least as a defense. Then you have the tour guide engine. So there's tour guide, Scarm, Graph, and Sir, 1 of each. So that's your little engine right there. The main thing you want to do with that is mainly make Fortune Tune. That'd be your defensive strategy. Plus thin out your deck as well. But you know, most of the cards, once Fortune Tune gets defeated or gets removed from the field, it goes to the graveyard. You'll use the effect to recycle your level 3 monsters. So let's say you put the level 3s into this deck. You have a level 3 deck. You know, obviously you can use Fortune Tune and recycle them. But you already have a nice little rank 3 engine that you can already use and go into certain, you know, useful cards like Break Sword. You know, you can go into Dante, and then you can go into Beatrice if you want. So you get a nice little beat stick or a nice little wall with, you know, her ability. You could attack directly with a Nightmare Shark. If you need to get something that's banished, you know, you got access to Leviar. You need a nice 3000 beater. You got Acid Golem. You know, you got a couple options, and you can go into Downer Magician because you have, you know, a good amount of level of rank 3s you can use and go into a Downer Magician. And if you want, you can like main deck a Secret Vision Spellcaster because she's a spellcaster, and you know, be able to trigger, be able to get the effect of the field spell and lock your opponent out of being able to play spells, especially, you know, pendulums, things of that nature. Of course, you know, you got Utopia, the lightning right there for any rank 4 strategy you use. The extra deck can obviously change depending what you need or want, but Fortune 2 is like the main rank 3 you want to use with the tour guide engine, because you want to keep that, you know, it's a nice little loop. Plus it can't be targeted by card effect. You gain 500 every time it's your turn, so that's very useful of an effect. Solemn Strike is pretty typical, you know, it negates monster effects and pendulum summons and inherent summons, so obviously it's generically good. You can counter, you know, effects and summonings, and since it's supposed to be 3, it'd be hard to chain to, right? Unless with another supposed to be, you have Dark Bribe, which can negate any spell or trap. That's generically good, you know, self-explanatory. Your opponent does get to draw a card from the effect, but it doesn't matter. Whatever they draw is more likely not another copy of whatever they were trying to use. They're trying to use something like a Regeki or a Soul Charge or something of that nature. Since it's a one-of, you don't have to worry about them drawing into another one, right? Plus, just in general, stopping something right there and then, they could break your board. is more important than the fact that they get a card. You know, it's not that big of a deal. Whatever they played that you countered was what they really needed. Of course, Twin Twister, clear back rolls, that's generic enough. We all play spells and traps, and pendulums. When they put in pendulum zones, they're you know, treated spells. So obviously, Twin Twister's useful against that. But you can change this however way you want. But this is obviously just basic generic stuff you can use against any deck. I mentioned Gore Sarcophagus. Obviously, it's just to search out to increase the consistency. Reload. The main is you want to, you know, set 1 or 2 cards, you know, something you want to keep, and then reload the rest of the cards in hand, and hopefully get into some more cards and be able to set up a board. You know, you want to set up some field presence. Magic Mallet, the same. Magic Mallet is the same thing. You want to reload. The cool thing about Magic Mallet and reload is I was trying like you know, the regular turbo engine, right? The whole drawing. It's like, oh, just draw into all your good cards, draw into your outs and stuff. The thing with that is that most of those cards they're not pot of greed. Like, trade-in is not pot of greed. You know, as in you don't just play it by itself. You know, you have to play trade-in with an 8-star monster, which can be a dead draw unless the 8-star monster can, you know, somehow special summon itself. You know, you're adding more to the deck than you really need. All you want is three pot of greeds, right? You know, that way you play it, draw. If you draw another pot of greed, play it, draw. Play it, draw. You know what I mean? You gotta do that. You don't want to play trade-in, discard of Blue Eyes, for example. And the only reason Blue Eyes is in the deck is because you're playing trade-in, right? Not for any other reason other than that. And then you draw a trade-in and some other card, and they don't really work too well. See, the thing about reload Magic Mallet is that if you play reload, right, and then you reload, let's say, a Magical Mallet and a tour guide from into the deck, hypothetically, right, back into your deck, and shuffle, and get another Magical Mallet, and let's say a Thunder Dragon. Well, not too bad, right? You discard the Thunder Dragon, get 2 copies of Thunder Dragon if there's 2 in the deck, or just get 1, whatever, right? More deck thinning, and then play Magical Mallet. Shuffle them back in deck, shuffle, draw, and you should be able to draw into something better. I could go on for hours of different ideas, different strategies, different card combinations you can use to build decks around this, but I just want you to see like the core. Like, this is mainly these 28 cards in the main deck, other than Fortune Tune, because the extra deck you could change, but Fortune Tune plus these 28 cards in the main deck are the main things, you know, I want you to experiment with, you know, what makes it the consistency turbo. You know, give it a try, tweak it, you know, improve upon the concept, and, you know, see what happens. Because one of the things about this strat concept is that with the whole upstart and reckless greed concept people used to play with, it was to try to make the deck feel like, or go from being a 40 card deck to being almost like card deck. See, with this concept is, I'm trying to make it more of like a 15 to 10 card deck, maybe even less, even lower, because if you use gadgets or any monsters that when they summon they get you a monster, like, you know, you summon a monster, you get a monster, like let's say Magic Specters, when you summon a Magic Spectre you can get a trap card or a spell card, right? So I thin out the deck some more to the point where it's almost like you have 9 cards to play with, right? Nine cards. The deck will feel like there's 9 cards, like you're just playing card deck instead of a 40 card deck. That's like the whole idea of this, is to shrink the deck relatively easy with these cards. Just pitch, search, you know, and thin the deck out as possible. And of course, some people could play some certain outs. They could be, so we could play things, you know, Shadow Thing. They could play
mistake or something like that, or thunder drag, anything to prevent, you know. And of course that would hurt any deck that has power, that has, you know, that uses light and darks, obviously. So it's pretty generic. Nothing too special there. Just because those cards exist, you can use it to hurt this deck and to take away its abilities. Doesn't mean it's not worth playing this strategy, right? You know, obviously you have access to Twin Twisters, MSTs, Cosmic Cyclone, and cards of that nature to remove those floodgates, those cards. You know, you got Dark Bride in this strategy. So it's just something, you know, we gotta try out, think about. That's the part that matters the most. I don't have to spend time trying to show you how awesome this is and do videos. I would love to make videos of dueling, but I got a lot of stuff on my plate, so many things to do. Is just like, I expect y'all to know how to play the game. I show you this, you try it out on your own. You have access to YUGIOH Pro like I do. Go test it out, even improve upon the idea. You know, you don't have to play it the way I show it to you. You can improve upon it. That's what I expect for this idea to be expanded upon. Like, I've been in concept for a long while, different variants. Before, I was just using Thunder Dragon or Thunder Dragon and Thunder Seahorse, but then over time I started noticing that playing stuff like Magic Reload with them, as well as a tour guide engine, you know, it created a nice amount of synergy for thinning out the deck and keeping a field presence. Plus, constantly making your hands, you know, look like you have a lot of cards, you know, can confuse. They think you have outs for days when you might just have a couple Thunder Dragons in your hands, right? So they'll be confused. They won't, especially if they have an effect to discard a card from your hand. Well, having those extra Thunder Dragons in your hands will be useful, because they'll probably hit one of those cards, one of the Thunder Dragons from your hand, instead of one of your good cards. They have an effect like Trish or something. And that's the end of the video. You know, obviously the rest is up to you, and have fun.